Well, thank you very much. I'd like to say how pleased I am to be here at Imperial. That's what I'd like to say. But of course, Keith, it's absolutely true. And the London Centre for Nanotechnology is a marvellous way of celebrating the collaboration that has occurred over the past 5 years between these two great universities. But I've been very struck listening to those papers at the sheer excitement of the science. I mean, the sheer excitement that Stuart Parkin has just managed to convey to us. And I thought that was very well matched also by Pepper Denman. Thank you very much for those presentations. And just 3 comments on them. First, the sheer interconnectedness of those 2 presentations. The extent to which Stuart and his team and others around the world can develop the ICT, the speed of processing, the capacity for handling data, will in itself empower the development of the medical advances that Pepper was talking about. We are going through, yet again, a reform of the National Health Service in this country. We have one of the best health services in the world, but it's nowhere near good enough. And we know that there will be a revolution in the next few years as we try to ensure that improvements in diagnostics and pharmacogenetics and in self-care and self-treatment are brought home to patients, giving them, as Pepper described, the capacities to control their own medication and their own choices. But that then brings me to the second question, which is the extraordinary importance of what is sometimes overlooked, but which was touched on in Adrian Smith's presentation, which is the political, and I would say the social science environment in which discovery and new technology is brought into what is sometimes an unreceptive public domain. I had the responsibility some years ago of chairing the government's commission on GM crops, so I know well, through scars all over my back, where the problems lie. Overnight, a whole generation of plant scientists developed a clear-spoken expertise on economics and monopoly power and pricing in global markets for seeds, and equally an entire generation of organic farmers pronounced with great authority on gene flow and upon the incidents that would flow from the uncontrolled growing of GM crops in the open. These were 2 communities whose voices never overlapped, who never engaged in trying to work out what were the differences that lay between them in the introduction of important technology across the world. The consequence is that Europe still lags behind the rest of the world in the cultivation of GM crops, and there is huge political opposition to them. 4 years ago, both the Royal Society and the Royal Academy of Engineering joined together and produced a working party and a report on nanotechnology, bearing in mind the malign forces that had torn apart the debate on GM crops. We should not forget that report, and we should revisit it from time to time. There has always been a difference in biotechnology between green and red, between agricultural biotechnology and medical biotechnology, to which the public has a much greater affinity. It seemed to me that the examples that we were given today, particularly in relation to medical nanotechnology, are examples which will compel and must be used to drive a positive debate about the potential capacity and empowerment that will come from nanotechnology. My final point is that the politics which Adrian Smith described are nowhere near as dull as he pretended. And I would like publicly to pay our gratitude to Adrian for what he's done in holding the fort for investment in science in this country against a political, how we say, negativity sometimes that's been encountered. The future is not secured, it's not guaranteed, it's not as bright as we might have hoped, but nor is it as devastating as was being widely forecast 2 years ago. Nanotechnology always gives proof to the Vice-Chancellor's dictum of the relationship between the size of what's being studied and its cost. It's inverse in the case of nanotechnology. And I don't believe that all the investment in this country in nanotechnology has been wisely placed. There have been times when it has been scattered across the country. I recall a few years ago when every regional development agency was asked what was its vision for the future, and they replied as one, nanotechnology. It can't work like that. Investment for the future has to be highly focused. We had a brilliant presentation at the meeting this morning from Professor Zhan N. Chang from Beijing, who demonstrated to us the sheer force and potential of investment in science and in nanotechnology in China, the dominant position to date of Japan, and the extent to which China is now catching up on that position. We stand to lose market share and competitiveness in this country if we're not aware of what is happening elsewhere, and we don't recommit ourselves to investing significantly in nanotechnology for all the reasons that have been outlined this afternoon. It falls to me to close the seminar and to do so by thanking all of those who have given such exciting speeches today, to our sponsors, and to you, Keith, our host, and Imperial College. But finally, to express our congratulations to Gabriel Apley and the whole team of the London Centre for Nanotechnology, and to expect from them a further 5 years of outstanding growth and performance. Thank you very much.